this one there's actually 3 asymptotes. So you'll be at -4, 0, and +4. Then invariant points, there's quite a few. There's 6 of them here. So if we replot those, this is where we'd find the invariant points. And here and here. And points that I'd be interested in, well, I'd be interested in this one, this one, this one, and this one as well. So if I plot those, I'll be at 1/2 here. Sorry, -1/2 for both of these. And then these other 2 will be at 1/2. Okay. So if I was to follow this graph, then I'd be moving along. It's increasing, so this graph is going to be decreasing. Here I'm a very small positive, so that means I'm going to be a very large positive here. And then it changes to decreasing in the original, so now it starts to increase in the reciprocal. And that pattern is repeated one more time. Okay, and then finally the last spot I'm at is here. If it is a very tiny negative, it will be a very huge negative on this side. So that's where I would expect to find it this time. So that's what your final graph should look like for this. Okay. And I believe there is actually one more graph that we were going to talk about, but it's not quite so straightforward. So is that okay for me to move on? Yeah, okay. So this has been a previous provincial before. They don't go to, usually if it's reciprocal, they're not going to blast you with it, right? They're going to, maybe most of the time, 90% of the time, it's just a reciprocal. But occasionally there has been a question or two where they've said, well, let's see what happens if we throw another transformation at them. Okay, so what do you think? How could we deal with this? Yeah, Kara, go for it.
You do what's the absolute value first.
Good. Yeah, so yeah, we are recording now. So what I would suggest, whenever you get stumped, think about order of operations. If you were to put this in your calculator, what would you do first? If you were to do this calculation right here in your calculator, what would you do first? Absolute value or reciprocal? Yeah, I'd be inclined to do absolute value also. So I'd be inclined to then turn this into 1/2, and then, okay? So that's the same thing that would happen in the transformation. We can do the absolute value first, and this is the graph we have. So the graph in red is the absolute value of it. And the only thing left to do now is reciprocal. So with what's left over, we're going to apply the reciprocal transformation to it. Okay, so to put in reciprocals, that would be my my asymptotes for the reciprocal. Then I have these invariant points here. So my invariant points are going to show up here. The points that I think we'd all want to pick, these points look significant, so those points are ones I would include. That would take me down here at 1/2, and also at 1/2 here and here. So now I have enough of a skeleton going on this graph to talk my way through the reciprocal. So this graph here is decreasing, so I'm going to see it increasing along that asymptote. And again, it's decreasing, but now we start to increase. So this graph will decrease as it leaves the asymptote. There's no change now. Nothing happens in the middle. And to recap it off, I believe it should look like that when it's finished maybe a bit more of a curve on the last one. Let's see here, a bit more of a curve. Okay. Okay, so that's where we'll leave it today. I'll just get your homework going.